Welcome, everyone. I'm Patrice, and this is Navigating the Journey, Episode 7, What's Stopping You? To paraphrase my favorite quote, thinkers think and doers do. But until the thinkers do and the doers think, progress will be just another word. To me, this quote means you can't just be a thinker or a doer. If you want to accomplish something or make progress towards a goal, you have to be both. Far too often we get comfortable being one or the other, and we find ourselves stuck at the starting line when an opportunity presents itself. Today, we will discuss some of the obstacles that keep us from accomplishing our goals and how to overcome them. As we talk through these things, I want you to think about what's stopping you. Keep in mind, this is an open-ended question, and the answers could vary. So let's navigate. I've had the privilege to hold many different leadership roles throughout my life and in my career, and each role helped to develop my love for leading people. While I didn't always love some of the noise that came with being a leader, the opportunity to motivate and encourage people brought me joy. That joy created a desire to motivate others on a larger scale, and that is how the idea for this podcast was born. Once I decided that a podcast would be the perfect vehicle to share my words and thoughts, there was nothing left to do but to take action. Before I realized it, a year had gone by and I'd done nothing. Friends and family started asking how the podcast preparations were coming along, and before I knew it, another year had passed, and I was still at the starting line. It wasn't until after a random conversation about fulfilling my purpose that I realized there were 3 things stopping me from getting the podcast started: fear, my lack of confidence, and some of the people in my life. Fear can be a paralyzing emotion that can be experienced in many forms. A fear of failure and a fear of rejection were what made me hesitant to start working towards my goal of doing this podcast. I've always taken pride in giving my best effort to anything I tried, but your best doesn't always equate to success, and that was always front of mind for me. I'm no stranger to failure, but the risk of failing with an unknown amount of people to witness and not knowing how my perspective on life would be received by others was terrifying. Although the thoughts and perceptions of others shouldn't matter when it comes to achieving our goals, we're all human, and realistically, they matter. They matter a lot. When facing your fears, it's important that you don't let them become such large barriers that you can't move past them. The only thing you have to do to get started is show up. To show up means to have a belief in yourself and be present in what's happening for you. Oftentimes, our fears can be so strong that we talk ourselves out of showing up and we're left wondering what could have been or what if. Changing how you view your fears is key to overcoming them. To overcome my fears of failure and rejection, I had to change the way I viewed them. I shifted my thinking to view something as a failure only if I didn't learn anything from it, and to view a rejection as preparation for something greater. When I did this, my fears became catalysts. If the desire is truly there, then your determination should always outweigh your fears. When I finally overcame my fears, I had to then build the confidence to get me out of the starting blocks. Lacking confidence doesn't always mean not believing in yourself. It can also be skepticism of being able to maintain the commitment needed to see something through. Or in my case, it was the uncertainty of how to be successful and operate in a space I didn't know much about. Sure, I knew what a podcast was, but I had no clue where to start in creating one, or what was needed to make it successful. I learned along the way that lacking confidence is like quicksand. If you aren't able to reduce the weight it holds pertaining to you accomplishing your goals, eventually those goals will vanish. 3 years passed, and my lack of confidence had me slowly sinking and losing sight of my goal. When you find yourself in this position, you must find a way to propel your confidence. In episode 1, Keeping Your Cup Full, we discussed giving yourself grace and changing your self-talk. These concepts are extremely helpful when it comes to gaining self-confidence and discovering your purpose. Remember, if you don't hype yourself up, who will? Doing this allowed me to understand that most times the root cause for lacking confidence was nothing more than a hypothetical scenario created by overthinking. Hype yourself up, focus on the goals in front of you, and get out of those starting blocks. Once I faced my fears and built my confidence, I had one last obstacle to overcome. Most of us find it hard to admit that other people have an impact on us achieving our goals, but some people can absolutely be an obstacle on your path. How many times in life or your career have you had things you wanted to accomplish, but someone talked you out of it? What about those times where someone made you feel you weren't good enough? I like to refer to these people as blockers. They keep you from trying and feed you with reasons you won't succeed, all while constantly complaining about the lack of movement in their own lives. Far too often we give blockers too much power over our decision making. It's not up to others to understand or support the things in life you want to accomplish. There's a reason your goals are unique to you. As I evaluated what was stopping me, I had to remind myself that I didn't need to seek validation from others. If it's something important to you, then that alone is reason enough to try. And because we mirror our environment, it's also important to surround yourself with people who will give their honest opinion, look for ways to uplift you, and hold you accountable. Get rid of those blockers. Maybe what's stopping you goes beyond what I mentioned here today. No matter what it is, not allowing it to become a barrier, encouraging yourself, and using it as a catalyst instead of a hindrance will always yield positive results. As much as fear, lack of confidence, and blockers can be challenges for why you can't or shouldn't move forward, they can also be great reasons for why you should. It's all about your mindset and approach. It doesn't matter if it's in life or your career. Be fearless, confident, and unapologetic when you're working to accomplish the things that matter most to you. While you may think you're just waiting for the right time, you're actually losing valuable time. So what's stopping you? Be sure to subscribe or follow wherever you get your podcasts. And before we depart, remember, as you navigate, it's okay to stumble over the blocks and step on the stones. Those are temporary detours, and your main road is just ahead.